Hello, and you guessed it, it's part 2 of the Cyanotype camera. If you want the image to expose in a short amount of time, you need a smaller lens. But if you want the image to be bigger, you get bigger lenses, but it takes longer to expose. Here it takes 2 hours, here it takes 6 to 7 hours, and here it takes 8 to 10 hours. So the camera I showed you how to make in the last video used this lens. Your lens, 3 to 4 inches long maybe. But I decided to discard that, and I decided to use a camera that used this lens. But if you want to use the design I made, use this lens. But first, let me make the misconception I made. But the bigger your lens, I mean, this is a pretty big lens, it should take 2 hours, then the faster it will take to expose your image. Actually, I lied. The smaller the lens, the faster it takes for the image to get exposed, because the light is concentrated into one area. So the bigger the lens, the longer it takes. I wouldn't recommend using that lens because it takes forever to make your image, and you're going to have all the shadows all over the image. So I prefer this lens and maybe a lens smaller than this. Now here's the camera I used with the very small lens. I put the small photo on here. As you can tell, this circle right here shows how big the image will be. Very tiny. That's about 1 inch big, but I put the cyanotype paper on here and I slide it in the back of the camera where it takes 2 hours. But if you're going to use the camera, as you see in the last video, it'll take 6 hours. If you're going to use the camera with this, I recommend that you allow it to expose for 6 to 8 hours in a sunny area. If you don't, and you put it in a shadowy area, it's going to be very, very hard to see, and I'll show you a few examples of that. But if you put it in a bright area, then you may overexpose it, which I did. Never did I ever get a good image with this lens. With this lens, I got a pretty decent image. Okay, so some paper I used are small 4x6 sheets in inches, and I got 15 of these for about $6 to $8. Now these ones, this company has some fairly decent products, so I recommend the SunArt company. So it's in this black light-proof paper. Now the cyanotype paper is inside of here, or the sun paper, so I need you to be very careful when you pull it out because it is sensitive to fingerprints. Now I already used a bunch of these, so what you're going to do, I'm not going to do it right now because it's nighttime here, so I can't do it. But what you're going to do is you get the back of your paper, or in my other video I had a block of wood to hold the paper. So you get this piece of paper or your block of wood and cut it out to the size which I traced, and this size should be good, and you paste it on there, or tape. And then once you get it, you're going to want to slide it inside your camera, and then you're going to want to put rocks around it or inside the camera so it is stable, and then allow it to expose for this camera with this small lens, which is like 15 millimeters. You're going to want to expose it for 1 hour to half to 2 hours, but if you're going to want to use this lens, allow it to 6 to 8 hours. Okay, so once you've exposed your photo, take your little piece of cyanotype paper and place it in regular tap water. That's all it takes to develop it. And after that, just shift it around so everything comes off. Yep. And then voila, your photo's developed. Look at that deep blue. I'll scan it and show you guys what this is. This is a bunch of palm trees. These are 3 of my palm trees, and this white thing up here is the balcony that the camera took a picture of. One thing I forgot to mention to you guys is you don't have to use a lens. You can put your own objects you want on the paper and let the sun go on it for 1 to 5 minutes. And here is a little branch with leaves on it. Okay, so now what you're going to want to do is get your wet photo and place it on a regular napkin and just press on it and let all the water come off. Remember, it's still sensitive to fingerprints, as it will be always in the future. And the water, like always, makes paper wrinkly, so you're going to want to put it under some heavy books or some weights to prevent that from happening. Now, you can tell mine is a little overdone. I actually forgot about it and forgot to put the timer on, so by the time I got it, it's a little overexposed. But over time, this thing will oxidize, and it'll become darker and darker, so it's going to be harder for me to view the image, so I'm going to scan it now before that ever happens. Now here's my first image. I simply flipped it. I took a picture of it and I flipped it from positive to negative. So here we have a palm tree, and you can't really see it, and behind that is a house, and to the right is another tree, and then here is the brick wall. I know, I underexposed it. Here is another underexposed image, but I did 1 hour longer. Here we have a bike handle, and you cannot tell this at all, but this is our lawnmower that is facing us. Now this is the image I showed you of the palm trees, but this time I flipped it negative, and you can see right here is a center palm tree, and the one on the left and the one on the right, and here's the balcony. Now here's a very complicated photo. Here we have our neighbor's house. This is a different house. Here we have another palm tree. Here we have the rocks, the cement, and on the far left corner you could just see the grass or our lawn. And this is, I wish I could zoom in, but my camera's terrible and be very blurry. Also, this little smiley face here is our hammock. And here's the image I am most proud of creating. Here, when you look at this, you can almost immediately tell this is a tree stump. This is our palm tree stump, and here you can see the tree, the grass, and the cement wrapped around the tree. And I am most proud of this image because you can actually see full detail, and I'm using the biggest of the lens, which took from dawn to dusk to create. Thank you for watching, and I hope you can like and comment and subscribe to allow my channel to grow.